pattern over and over again until she found the body in the water, until she found Giver. Giver was subsequently removed, and CPR then was done. And what's really disconcerting and sad is that we have the regulations, we have the law, and I can give anybody who wants a copy of this. I can make copies for you. The Code of Mass Regulations, which is Section 105, Chapter 105, Section 432. It details you must give swim tests to all kids that are going in the water. This did not take place. They should take place, the swim test should take place at the location that it's happening. That did not occur. What also did not occur is that there were no certified swim test instructors there. There was no certified personal flotation device fitters there. There were no personal flotation devices, period. Despite the fact that some children could not swim, including Giver. And yet all these children were allowed in the water. This Code of Mass Regs details that you should have a buddy system. And in that buddy system, and I want to just say this to the parents for this summer and caregivers for this summer, if you're going to be in a lake or pond, use fluorescent bathing suits. On a buddy system, you should use they should be using fluorescent non-removable tags on bands that can't be transferred. They should be different colors for each age category and for different swim abilities, and so that you can then buddy system up. The buddies should be matched with like swimming abilities. In other words, if you can't swim, you should be matched with another child that cannot swim. If you're a good swimmer, match it with a good swimmer. And then those children should only be allowed certain parts of the pond. Additionally, under the law, they suggest that every 15 minutes a whistle is blown and the buddy system, everybody comes back together. They identify who the students are, and at that point in time, a head count is then done. None of this occurred here. This all should have occurred, and what is really bothering me is you can tell that I am rather upset about this because we did make great efforts last year to educate the public a month before summertime was to begin, and talked about the buddy system, talked about people watching their children in the water, and how easy it is to see a child drown. And yet, a month later, in a school function program, a child dies. So I just want to be able to, everybody think and reflect, we lost a child, we shouldn't have lost a child, and going forward, I hope that going forward now in the summertime, I'm hoping that all these camps, lakes, and whatnot, take this information into serious consideration. It's the law. Make sure you follow Christian's law. Make sure you make your children safe as they're in the water. With that, I have nothing further to say unless anybody's got any questions. Amanda.
I'm just curious, what did your investigation reveal the extent of, or did either of the two defendants have any knowledge of Christian's law? Did they say that they were aware of?
I can tell you that Ms. Braley had an attorney and did not want to speak with us, and was not cooperative with us, so I don't know what she had to say. Ms. Whitacre was cooperative with us. She had no idea, she had no knowledge of that. And that this law has been, originally came into fruition in 2012 when a young boy died, and then it became actually into a statute in 2017. This has been around a long time. So to me, that's it's another reason for the indictment, is that you should be aware of those laws. You're in this position to trust all these children. And there was a trip the day before with no lifeguard, but nobody died. And this lifeguard was told there was only going to be 15 children in the water. There was no life stand. There was no flotation devices for him. This was a high school student that was a lifeguard, and he was very upset when he left, telling his parents they cooperated with us, he cooperated with us, that they put him in an untenable position with 35 kids in the water, with no higher observation point, like having as you see, like on the beach, you have those big lifeguard stands. Did not have that. With all of that, we really ruled the lifeguard out as any type of a suspect. He did everything he was supposed to do, but unfortunately they put him in an untenable position. And it was really disconcerting when we found out that a call was made to the father at around 1:30. The child was seen at 12:48. There was no way you could physically get that child from Beartown State Forest to Pittsfield to her home in that period of time. But that's the only efforts that were made. 911 wasn't called. The father was called. And then on top of that, the calls weren't made to 911 until a child called and a local attorney called. So those issues, and the fact that they didn't even look in the water at first, they looked in the dressing rooms and around the pond and every other location except the water, that's where the child was. The child shouldn't have been in the water in the first place. Her parents both indicated she could not swim. Sure.
So I just wondering, confirm, so Giver was found by Ms. Rockebruna?
Yes.
Who did a grid search?
Yes.
For like,
Yes.
and she's a PE teacher?
I believe she is a PE teacher. I don't know that for sure. I can tell you this. I have seen her on social media. She's doing a lot for public safety for water this summer. I commend what she's doing. I am sure this has affected her greatly. I feel bad for her. I think that she was doing that the child was, and she swam for, the child was found, I think, at 158, so swimming that grid. And this is to look at the child. You got a little, and the water tag was on the board. When you were done, you came out, you took the tag off the board. None of this happened. And these are simple. Can't put our kids. But these kids, and we found this out. We found this out through a tragedy. So my hope is that whatever happens from this going forward is that everybody else that's out there, and you've got to be very happy. Go ahead, Amanda.
Why didn't they call 911?
Your father? They did also the Ira Kaplan from Great Barrington.
And he just had.
Just as an outing.
And did the in the
So because of that, I wanted to make sure we were going to address that at we did all these interviews. We interviewed a lot of children.
Either of the defendants.
But there was a lot of people. Program to come. I'm
officer.
Christian, you want to comment?
We've had extensive contact since last year. I think that this is very difficult for them. It's coming up on the anniversary of her death. They're on board with the prosecution, but they're just they know that this is not going to bring their child back, but they understand that, and they want someone held accountable for their death.
They're healing. This is a really difficult time for them. I really think that getting to know these people, as Kristen has, that they are very forgiving people, but they've lost their daughter, and they just want to make sure this doesn't happen again. That's the biggest message they're saying, is that, and that's what we want to see, that this is never ever occurs again. Because again, I tried to address it before it happened last summer. It didn't do enough, apparently. So I'm hoping that we all take something out of this. And we are in a county that's loaded with lakes and ponds, and we have a hot summer. We have a hot summer coming up. So I want to make sure that we are protecting our children, because it is, again, it's a leading cause of death in children. So it is a very dangerous situation. I want people to take it as seriously as it is, and make sure that they're following the rules and following the procedures. If these rules and procedures were followed, this child would not be dead today. There's just no question in my mind, because she wouldn't have been in the water without supervision. She would have had a buddy system. She wouldn't have been unaccounted for. We would have known where she was in the water. And even if she had gone under, you could have momentarily gotten her out of the water. But when you're in the water that long, it's unforgiving, let's put it that way.
And are they still in Pittsfield?
Yes.
And was there any indication by witnesses that any sort of struggle, or did Giver slip under the water without a visible struggle, or what was seen?
The information we had, they saw her waving her arms, sort of like this, waving her arms around, and then she went under. The three groups of children, I think there were a couple of kids in some of the groups, had gone to Miss Braley multiple times and indicated to her that Giver went under. And there was no search done, and it was kind of laughed off, is what they said.
So,
I'll use the actual word they said, was laughed off.
Laughed off. So
Crazy.
3 children saw Giver go
Yes.
under.
3 to 4, I'm not sure.
3 to 4 witnessed her
At
go
least
underwater.
3, yes.
Reported it to Miss Braley.
Yes.
And she laughed it off. In other words, she said, did the children indicate what exactly was said after that, or that she
They
laughed
just
it
said
off?
she sort of laughed off, and they were sort of, I think they were sort of embarrassed to go back and say it again, but they did a couple of times. And then they're on the bus when they were doing the head count, and they're missing Giver. They said, "We told you, she's in the water." Bingo. And then they went and didn't check the water. They went and checked the pool house, the dressing area, and the outside area, and then the water.
So even after they insisted that she's in the water, the adults didn't check the water. They checked other places on the property, and
Yes.
then
Until
checked
at
the
some
water.
point in time, I think it was Miss Rockaburnett and another PE teacher, I can't think of his name, I think at that point went into the water and began to do swim the grids.
Okay. And not to ask you to, speculate, but why do you believe their warnings went unheeded?
Your guess is as good as mine. That's why we're standing here today. I have no idea. I certainly would not, if I was in that position, I would heed those warnings. Err on the side of caution, right? But at the same time, we don't err on the side of caution, and a child dies. So these kids were clear. They were upset about it. And a lot of kids are upset. Some kids' parents wouldn't let us speak to them because they are so traumatized by the event and the things that they saw. It was a very difficult day, because when she's brought out of the water, this is when finally the bus leaves with the kids, with their classmate, deceased on the beach.
Are you aware if the bus, the bus full of children saw Giver being taken out of the water?
No, my understanding is once she was taken out of the water, and I've seen the body cams, she was surrounded by so much personnel, I don't think you could see it. If they was past the picnic tables, I don't think they observed any of that stuff. But it was quite apparent at the time that an emergency was going on, and Giver was missing. So the ride on the bus, and the videotape on the bus is very heart-wrenching, because the kids are all crying, they're upset, and so they clearly knew something was going on, and something happened.
Do you happen to know how long these defendants worked with the summer program?
I think Ms. Whitacre has been involved in the program for a while. I am not sure about Ms. Braley. She has, I think, was in the school department for 3 years, so I'm not sure if she was in the summer program. Amanda?
How long? And you had mentioned some time frames, but to put a fine point on it, how long was Giver thought to be underwater?
Again, I don't know. I can tell you she was. We have her unaccounted for 70 minutes.
Okay.
But I know everybody was out of the water about 1:15, and she was found at 1:58. So that gives
Okay.
you 43 minutes. So,
And was it Miss Roccabruna who pulled her from the water?
Yes,
On her own?
on her own, but then it's with assistance. Once she got her, she was underwater.
Yeah.
Once she got her to the surface, there was assistance.
Do you anticipate any more indictments coming for anybody else, or is this the sort of close of?
It's always an ongoing investigation. We're always looking at stuff. There's some people I feel really confident about. Obviously, Ms. Roccabruna did a great job that day. Certainly, I think we vetted the lifeguard. I think he did everything he could possibly do. He was a young boy. Put it in, like I said, an untenable task. So I don't see any of that. But as information comes out, as we keep going, we always keep it open to see what other people's actions were. This clearly, even though Ms. Whitacre wasn't there, they were in charge of this program. They set up the rules and procedures. They set up the whole event, and that should have been put into place. Also, with these CMRs, comes with it is a checklist for what you have to do. You just check it off. It's really simple. They couldn't have made this law any easier of how to follow it. And if that had been followed by the program and implemented it, but when they don't even know the program that this law exists, that's a problem. So we've got an educational problem that needs to take place in some of these programs that are being run. These programs are being run, and you don't know about Christian's law, we're in bad shape. So we need to get that corrected. So we need to make sure that all these camps, everyone else is doing it, is following Christian's law, because it lays it out exactly what you have to do to save a child's life. And 15 minutes worth of effort is worth it. Save one child. And again, that's the reason why we did this talk last summer before the summer started, because I was concerned about it. And unfortunately, it turned out to come to fruition a month later. All right.
One last thing, I'm curious whether the district is currently conducting the 21st Century Learning Program and whether...
That I don't know. I
have
did
they-
contact the mayor yesterday. I did contact Mr. Curtis, from the superintendent office, and I just let them know what was going on.
Okay.
My hope is that they are. I mean, I know I've seen that Ms. Roccabruna is out there doing it on her own.
Okay.
I've seen that she's running a lot of programs that are about water safety. I would hope that the city is doing that, and I would hope that there are not kids in the lake that are not that the Christian law is being followed in those particular cases, and that these things are being adhered to. If not, we could lead to another tragedy. And that's again the reason why I'm making this such a big deal this morning, is because I really am concerned about the summer months coming up. And I already know with the weather we had last week. I know at Burbank Park, I saw just a number of comments on social media of how many kids were in the water. That was a dangerous situation. So we've got to be aware of that. We've got to make sure that it's a very pond. So you've got 3 water bodies right in the city. So, we've got to make sure we're protecting our kids. If people want to get in the water, it's hot.
In the back of the room, we have Christian law FAQs, the Massachusetts Department of Health regulations. The district attorney referred to both Christian's law and the Department of Health regulations, as well as section 127A and a half, which is Mass General Law, Christian's law. And they're on the back table.
All right, anybody else?
Sure. It sounds like there was a photograph, there was some video from the bus, there was phone calls. Able to recreate sort of the timeline of how things happened.
We have a timeline that's recreated both by Investigator O'Brien, who's here with you today, and Trooper Murphy. They did a nice, very detailed timeline, because a lot was happening in those periods of time. So each just about every minute